Earlier this year, I got the privilege of going to the Royal Rumble in Tropicana Field earlier this year, and I actually bought the tickets back in September, October-ish, because fun fact, I actually graduated at Tropicana Field back in 2021, because I actually used to live in Florida, but I moved since then, and we got pretty good seats. They were right above the little electronic billboard, I think either one or two floors below the nosebleed seats. We got, the view was good. We had shit tons of fun. There was a group of people that sat in front of me. Me and my brother went, and there was a group of people that sat in front of us who were just a blast to talk to and who were just the most personable, friendly people ever. And we were just having fun throughout the show. We were jumping around. We were screaming everybody's entrance music. We just had a blast. A few days after I got back from the trip, I was just scrolling through YouTube on my phone, and occasionally I'll get like random notifications from YouTube about random topics I'm interested in, or channels that they think I might be interested in. And I came across a video that said Women's Royal Rumble live entrance reaction, something like that. And the channel name was a guy named William Kliske. And I noticed that when I looked in the thumbnail, I was like, hold on, he looks kind of familiar. Was that the guy who sat directly in front of us at the show? I click on the video, and 5 seconds in, I see me and my brother sitting right behind him going crazy when Naomi returned. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. There is no way that we just so happened in a sea of 50,000 people just so happened to sit right behind a group of YouTubers, or one YouTuber, whoever it was. And yeah, I immediately sent him, I think I sent him a DM on Instagram, or I commented on it or something. And yeah, I was like, there's no way this by complete chance encounter in, like I said, a sea of 50, 60,000 people at Tropicana Field, and we just so happened to sit behind a YouTuber, and I, again, by complete chance, happened to even find that video, because I didn't even know they were YouTubers. I noticed that he was filming the whole time, but I thought it was just for, like, I don't know, like just kind of for personal use, for kind of like just to go back and watch it. But no, he was filming for YouTube, and me and my brother just so happened to be in the background. So William, if you're watching, thank you for coincidentally maybe not starting my YouTube career, but kind of giving me that push that I needed to start doing YouTube, because I was actually thinking about doing YouTube for quite a long time, like full time, before that happened. And that and another thing I'm going to bring up a little bit later really did inspire me to full time get back into YouTube. So right after that trip, and we flew back home, we both agreed, we were like, we got to do this again. There's no exceptions, no excuses. I don't care how much it costs, we're doing this again. And I think just 2 months later, I saw that Money in the Bank was coming to Toronto at the Scotiabank Arena. And that's actually not a too far flight from where we are. And we both kind of mulled over it for maybe like a week or two. And then we were like, yeah, let's fucking do this. Let's do this, because this is gonna be awesome. This is gonna be, for one, our first time flying out of the country, period, and two, flying out of the country for a wrestling show. This time we stayed there for a little bit longer than we did for Florida, because this is, of course, a lot farther than Florida, and it's out of the country, so we wanted to kind of make a vacation out of this, kind of. So we stayed there for, I think, 5 or 6 days. I think it was 5 days. So yeah, when we got to the airport, YYZ was beautiful. It was a great airport. The flight there was fine. So we actually flew in the day before the show, just to kind of be on the safe side in case anything popped off or anything. This was just a few hours before we were about to leave for the show. I was looking at SeatGeek because NXT Heatwave was actually going to be in the same arena the following day after Money in the Bank. They were doing a whole 3-day extravaganza. They were doing Friday Night SmackDown, Money in the Bank, and Heatwave all in the same arena. So I was looking at the prices for the seats just for the hell of it. And I noticed that right above the floor seats were like $177 each. I was like, there is no way for any wrestling show, especially WWE, the biggest wrestling company on the face of the earth, would be like any seats to any of their shows, whether it be WWE, whether it be main roster or NXT, would be anywhere below $500 for right above floor seats. And I was like, there's no way this is real. So I kept refreshing the page. It stayed the same price. And then I was like, I looked over at my brother and I was like, dude, we have to go to this too. There is no way we can miss out on this. I've been a huge fan of NXT for going on 6 years now. I did stop watching throughout NXT 2.0 because I really just did not like that at all. I might do a video on that in the future though. And so yeah, I was like, we have to go to the show if it's, for one, that cheap, and two, it's going to be our first NXT show ever that we get to attend. Because we were actually going to go to WrestleMania 37 or 36 when it came to Tampa Bay back in 2020, but we all know what happened that year. So yeah, I was like, we have to go to the show. And you know, the tickets were dirt cheap pretty much, and probably for good reason, because they ended up having to tarp off like almost half the arena because they couldn't really sell out all the seats. But I wasn't complaining at all. It was NXT. Why the hell wouldn't I go? So yeah, we were both just like, screw it, let's go. Why not? So we bought the tickets and we were like, all right, so we're going to Money in the Bank and Heatwave. This is like a full-on wrestling vacation pretty much. I'm pumped. So yeah, once we got to the show, it was, of course, packed outside of Scotiabank Arena. I got to stand right by Cody Rhodes' tour bus. And I stood there for, I unashamedly stood there for maybe like 20 to 30 minutes hoping that maybe somebody would come out there. I didn't think it would be Cody, but maybe somebody, maybe one of his friends or roadies or managers or whatever, but nobody came out of there. But yeah, we all just kind of hung out outside the arena for, I think, 2 hours, which might seem kind of long, but in my opinion, that's kind of a part of the fun, because you know, you're all standing out there, you're super hyped for the show, you can't wait for it, and yeah, it's just that's part of the fun, at least for me. Me and my brother are both dressed up as Jay and Jimmy Uso. I wore the Yeet fit, he wore the no Yeet fit. I'm sure I'll put up a picture on the screen. And fun fact, there were some photographers that were coming by through the crowd outside, and they were taking pictures of everybody, and they got a picture of us. And we're actually on Scotiabank's official Instagram page. If you scroll down a little bit and then you look at the Money in the Bank crowd post that they made or whatever, on the day of the show, it was on July 6th, either July 6th or 7th they posted it. And yeah, me and my brother are on slide 6, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, it was really cool that we got to do that. And yeah, the whole show was an absolute blast. We got fantastic seats. Of course, they were a little pricey, but I really didn't mind burning through almost my whole credit card to go to the show, because again, why the hell not? While we were in the crowd, there were this really cool group of guys behind us that took our picture, and we actually pretty much did like a side-by-side comparison of our very first wrestling show we went to back in 2014, when we were both, I think either 10 or 11 or something like that. And that was our very first wrestling show, and then we got to do kind of like a little 10-year comparison between our first wrestling show and then our first wrestling show we got to travel out of the country for. Sure, some of the booking decisions that took place that night weren't that good, especially Drew McIntyre's failed Money in the Bank cash-in that I unfortunately recorded.
Oh my God!
I mean, good Lord, man, that was just one of the most baffling Triple H decisions I've probably ever seen, including NXT Black and Gold. I mean, that was just really strange. Also, having Braun Breaker lose clean to Sami Zayn with one haluva kick was just absolutely nauseating. And honestly, if it wasn't for SummerSlam happening tonight, I would say that Braun Breaker's aura was almost destroyed by that match, because somebody like him losing to one haluva kick from somebody like Sami Zayn is just unfathomable. Somebody of Braun Breaker's size and his stature and his abilities. But anyways, I'm getting too off track here. I don't want this to be a rant. I'm glad that Tiffany Stratton won Money in the Bank. That was awesome.
It's Tiffany.
And that spot that Chelsea Green took at the end of that match was just crazy. And if that story of her having a fear of heights is true and that's actually real and not just kayfabe, then she has more balls than I do, because I could never take a spot like that. I'm 6'2" and back problems run in my family, so hats off to you, Chelsea, because I could never do something like that. Once the main event happened, we were all just going crazy, singing everybody's theme song. Of course, Cody, Randy, Kevin Owens. I was going crazy singing Solo Sikoa's theme song.
Taking it all! Settle score! No, we're not gonna go. We're taking it all! We are one! No, we're not gonna go. We're taking it all! Yeah!
So yeah, just bottom line, Money in the Bank was an absolute blast. I would do anything to relive that show over again. Another side note, I can't believe they brought back the opening pyro for a show like Money in the Bank. I mean, they don't usually do opening pyro for shows anymore. And to have that for a show that me and my brother attended, that we flew out of the country for, was just awesome, because, I mean, that's really not something that they do much anymore. So Heatwave, some pretty interesting things happened at this show that I'm going to get into a little bit later. We actually were sitting in the wrong seats and we had to change halfway through the show, but whatever. So as we were sitting down, just filming everything that was going on, my brother turned around and he pointed down to the floor, and then he said, "Hold on, is that Brandon?" As in Brandon Does Everything, like the YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers. And so I turned over and then I looked, it was him. Brandon Does Everything was at NXT fucking Heatwave, and me and my brother just so happened to be sitting right above him. He was sitting on the floor, we were 1 row above him. So we both jumped up, we were like, "Oh my God, Brandon, no way, can we get a picture?" He was so nice, he was so cool. Him and Small Afro were there too. Yeah, it was just so awesome that we got to meet 2 YouTubers. The first one I didn't even know was a YouTuber. I found out after the fact. And then 2, I mean, I've been watching Brandon for like the last, 6-7 years. And I was not planning on meeting him at the show at all. I didn't even know that he was even going. So we got a picture with him. I wanted a picture with Small Afro, but I think he either went to the bathroom or went to go sit down or something. This show was fantastic. There was not a single bad match on this whole show. It's my favorite NXT show of the year. Only this and Stand and Deliver come at such a close second, but Heatwave just barely beats it out. There wasn't a single bad match on this show. Kalani versus Soul was the only match that I didn't really care too much for, because I'm not the biggest fan of all the acrobatics and gymnastics stuff. But they still did impress me a lot, but that style of wrestling just isn't really for me. The tag match was definitely a match of the night contender. That match went on for, it felt like 20 plus minutes, and there were a good 10 points in that whole match where I thought it was over, and Chase U just kept kicking out and kicking out. Axiom and Nathan Frazier kept kicking out and kicking out. And man, that spot that Andre Chase did where he stepped off of Axiom's back and then did a Canadian Destroyer to Nathan Frazier was just crazy. That popped the crowd so hard. The women's championship match between Roxanne Perez and Lola Vice was really good. The main event is a match of the year contender for me. That is one of the best Fatal 4-Way matches I've ever seen, and I got to see it live in person. Javon Evans, who is a year younger than me, doing crazy stunts like that, jumping across the ring to the outside. In my opinion, his top rope cutter is almost like a Cody cutter on crack, because he can just dive across the entire ring and hit a cutter on somebody, and he jumps so high and so far. It just blows my mind that this dude is a year younger than I am. And he's able to hang with the big guys already. He was in the ring with Trick Williams, Shawn Spears, and Ethan Page. These are three people who, well, maybe not Trick Williams so much, but Ethan Page and Shawn Spears, these are two veterans in wrestling. And he got to hang with three people who have been doing this for years. And I don't understand it, man. If that isn't inspirational, man, I don't know what is. So after that show, and me and my brother were just absolutely exhausted from all the fun we had over the last 2 days. And so right outside the venue was these, I'm assuming Money in the Bank and Heatwave were sponsored by C4 Energy, because right outside the venue they had like 8 pallets that were just stacked full of C4s, and they were just handing them out to everybody. And then eventually the crowd, of course, got so massive that they just cut open all the plastic from the pallets, and then they dumped them all into these buckets full of ice water so everybody could just jump in and grab one if they wanted one. Which I don't know why they didn't do at the beginning, because I mean, this is a 20,000 seat venue. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't do that to begin with, but whatever. There was a group of people who were standing right outside the venue, right outside a building that was right next to Scotiabank. And one of the guys had a microphone, and he was just, I couldn't understand what he was saying, because of course everybody was yelling and talking all loud because they were all hyped from the show. And I noticed there was a crowd right beside this group of people, the guy with the microphone, and there was a crowd standing right in front of them, and they were yelling at them. They were, going crazy. They were yelling a bunch of random wrestling-related catchphrases. They were chanting CM Punk.
CM Punk! CM Punk! CM Punk! CM Punk!
They were saying, like, I believe in Joe Hendry and all this crazy stuff. And I was like, what is going on? Who are those people, and why are they being heckled like that? And a passerby, he was like, oh, they're gay rights protesters. Then I was like, oh, well, that's why. These people behind us who were joining in on all the yelling and all this stuff were passing out C4s to everybody, but not to drink them, but they were handing them out so people could throw the drinks at the protesters. Look, man, I hold a lot of controversial opinions about the LGBTQ community, which I'm sure I'm going to get into later on in my YouTube career. But if all they're doing is standing there and talking, you look so stupid by picking up a projectile and throwing it at somebody and possibly really injuring them. These are full bottles of tin cans of C4 that can knock somebody out if you throw it hard enough. It was maybe this big and this wide. That could totally knock somebody clean out, and then boom, your dumbass is arrested because you couldn't control your little emotions. It was half fun and half, I guess, entertaining, just the whole situation, because we were all super hyped up from the show, and I'm assuming, people just wanted to get all their energy out from the awesome show they just saw, which I get it, but there's much more mature and non-violent ways to get your energy out than throwing drinks at people. Yeah, that was my Money in the Bank and Heatwave experience. Right after that, we went back to the Airbnb, and I didn't mention this about Toronto, but I'm a huge biker. I love riding my bike. North Carolina is not bike friendly at all, by the way, so I mean, the only time that I can ride my bike is when I'm going to and from work, because the sidewalks here are pretty much non-existent. They go for maybe 50, 60 feet, and then they stop, and then go right back to either the road or the grass. And Toronto is a big biking city. There is, everywhere you turn, there's somebody on their bike, either riding to work or just riding around for fun. And on every other block or so, there was one of those ride share things where it's like 5 or 10 bikes lined up to rent for the day. And it was only for me, it was like $15 to rent a bike for the entire day. And of course, if I wanted to, I totally could ride around the city for the whole day, but I didn't want to go that crazy. So the day after Heatwave, it was my last day in town before I was going to leave the following day. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to ride my bike around the whole city. I rode past the CN Tower, which we couldn't go to, unfortunately. I rode past the Rogers Center, which, if I'm not mistaken, WWE is holding Survivor Series later on this year, or some show, I think. Toronto is just a beautiful city. To be honest, I kind of want to move there when I'm in my 30s. And of course, throughout that 10-year span, I'm 20 now, but of course throughout that 10-year span, I'm going to be visiting quite frequently just so I can get a really good feel of that whole area and see if that's a place that I want to spend the rest of my life, or at least a pretty considerable chunk of it. Just moral of the story is that, for one, man, if you want to do something, then just do it. Whether it takes a year of saving up all your money, or whether it takes a year of grinding, or a year of whatever it is, then just do it. A few weeks leading up to the trip, I was like, man, what if this is going to be just all a waste of time and money? What if this is going to be, you know, a mad trip? What if this is going to be, what if Toronto's not that cool of an area? And what if this is all just a waste of time and money? And it wasn't. It was, like I said, it was half a vacation and half half a wrestling trip. That was probably the most fun 5 days of my life, if I'm being dead honest. And to end this video off, I want to give a huge thank you to William Kaliski and BDE. I'll put both of their YouTube links in the description for really, of course they didn't know it, but they both really did give me that kick in the ass that I needed to pursue YouTube either full-time or a lot more nowadays, because I've actually been doing YouTube on and off for almost 10 years now. There's been a million different iterations of this channel. I've been doing a million different types of content, and nothing really seemed to work, because I just never really knew what I wanted to do for this channel. For a few years I did gaming, for a few years I did regular show related videos, for a few years I did you know, just whatever I could think of that I thought was entertaining. And it never really panned out, and I'm not sure if this will pan out. I really hope it does, because YouTube is what I want to do for a career. And those two experiences, the Royal Rumble and Money in the Bank and Heatwave, really did inspire me to do this full time and to do this as a career. So yeah, moral of the story: don't be afraid to try things, and don't be afraid to take risks, because this whole trip was a giant risk, and it paid off.